It's Toby at Breakfast. It's BBC Radio Sheffield. Now, one of the things that we've been speaking quite a lot about is mental health on this show and indeed on this station. And as we know, 1 in 4 of us at some point in our lives will suffer from mental health issues and will maybe need a little bit of help. Coronavirus has amplified the noise for a lot of people, for a lot of us. And with me now is a former Sheffield student who's been calling on the government to form a group to tackle the increased demand on mental health services because of the coronavirus pandemic. And it describes him here, and I can only assume that the reason that somebody's chosen to describe him is because he uses his exterior to prove that this can happen to even the biggest of us. He's 6'2", covered in tattoos, and a skinhead, it says here, and he wants to talk to us about mental health. Rory Logan. Good morning, Rory.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. So tell us your story and tell us why you're involved with this.
I was always a big kid. As you said, I'm 6'2". I was always a big kid at school. I was born 10 pounds something, but I was always very sensitive. I was 6 foot by the time I was 12. I was 6'1" by the time I was 15. There shouldn't have been a physical altercation that I should have backed down from, but I was always scared of fighting, and I was very sensitive. I'd cry all the time, and that never went away. I've always struggled with mental health in some way or the other. And a few years ago, I had a very serious breakdown, I guess you'd say, and the only way I've ever got people to open up is to show my own struggles, and yeah, that's the only way I knew how to do it.
And what is it that helps you when you find yourself in this situation? How do you make things easier for yourself?
Well, that's a very good question. I would always say if you need real help, serious help, go to the doctors first and foremost. I went to the doctors. I'm on medication now. But by far the easiest thing to do for everyone, and the best thing, is to find a healthy way to escape reality. Whether that's walking, the gym, video games, hanging out with your friends, you name it. People turn to drugs and alcohol in their worst moments as a way to escape reality. But if you've got a healthy way to do that, it makes things so much easier.
Do you know, I speak to lots of people. Obviously, I work in stand-up comedy. You won't believe how many people I speak to who've got issues with this. And booze is the first thing that they turn to.
Yeah.
Because it's easy. It's available, and it gets you to sleep. It gets you away, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did. Not long after uni, I had a bit of a run-in with alcohol. But if you're healthy and you start drinking, eventually you're not going to be, and it's a depressant. It makes you worse in the long run. So a healthy way to escape reality is of paramount importance, I think.
So tell us about Find the Light. This is something that you've set up, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. So Find the Light it's a group I set up. I lived, like you said, I was at university in Sheffield, and then I moved to London. I was away from all of my friends. I live on the northeast coast, and I was away from all my friends. And I'm sure you can attest, being in stand-up comedy especially, the stereotype of the northern man is you don't talk about things. You're supposed to get on with things. I struggle with that. I always struggle with that, and I saw a lot of friends struggling with that, and the only thing I knew how to do was to share it. So I recorded myself during a breakdown, and I put it online, and it turns out that aside from my friends, a lot more people also struggle with the same thing. So I set up a group called Find the Light. It's not religious in any way. It's based upon a poem by a guy called Charles Bukowski, which says, I'll paraphrase, there's a lot of darkness, but if you know how to find the light, it's out there, and the more you find it, the easier it is to find in the long run. So I set it up, and now we do live events. I'll go and talk to people about my own struggles. And recently we've just moved to doing online events as well, which is great because of the lockdown. It's
really interesting, isn't it? Because let's talk about stand-up. A lot of the people that I know and work with do have issues with their mental health, and that comes from all sorts of things. And then the job sometimes exacerbates that, driving late at night, eating, drinking, all that kind of stuff. But there is this thing, when somebody's just been on stage and actually commanded an audience of 300 people for half an hour, it's hard to imagine them coming off stage and not being supremely confident and supremely in charge of themselves. And it's hard to imagine them having anything with which they would need help, which I assume is why I've got a description of you, because people would think that this big tattooed northeastern lad has got himself sorted out. And of course, Nothing could be further from the truth, could it?
No, not at all. And actually, you mentioned stand-up. I didn't do it a lot. I did stand-up a handful of times when I was in London.
Mm.
And, yeah, if you get everyone raucously laughing, it's brilliant. But then you go back to life after that, and normal life can't even compare to that kind of thing. But then also, if you're a stand-up, you'll know that the bombing is the worst thing in the world. There's nothing more exposing than getting up there and exposing yourself to people. And no one laughs. It's the worst thing in the world. It's a double-edged sword.
It's interesting. My wife was reading something that Sarah Millican had written the other day about comedians, and I mean, just at the minute, the other morning, there's a northeastern lad called Matt Reed. He texted me at 3:00 in the morning. Nobody's sleeping, and Nikki was reading something that Sarah had written that said she'd seen her doctor about it, and it's this sudden lack of adrenaline when all of a sudden for 3 months you're not on stage 4 nights a week, and it's just it's really affecting people, and all sorts of things affect people in different ways. What kind of people come to you Find the Light?
I've got every type of person. I've got ex-forces guys, and again, all I did as far as I'm aware is set up a Facebook group. The community really does look after itself, so it's not a big group. It's a few hundred people. We're only a small community up here, but it's spreading a little bit, and they look after themselves. So we've got ex-forces people, nurses, doctors, unemployed people, mothers, fathers, you name it, the entire gamut of people, the entire spectrum of people. And it shows that it's not isolated to one type of person. It's not just women, and it's not just children. Do you know what I mean? It's not just teenage girls who struggle with their self-esteem. A lot of men do as well, and I think it's going to be worse after this as well. I think the coronavirus lockdown is people went into this not having had mental health issues in their past, but are developing them due to the anxiety of just not knowing when this is going to go over, and the constant heightened state of vigilance of, okay, wash your hands, don't get close to that guy, don't touch that, and then not knowing the constantly open-ended thing. It's bad for a lot of people, and I think the government would be wise to prepare very well, very, very well, because if they're opening things now for the economy, to get the economy started, how bad is it going to be for the economy when people have to take time off work and people can't work? It's going to be not good. It's not going to be horrendous, but they need to be prepared for the effect of this, I think.
Absolutely. Rory, thanks very much indeed for your time, mate. Best of luck. Thanks for talking to us this morning. That's Rory Logan there.